So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is brought to you by the Quad City Work-Based Learning Group. It's made up of a few schools in the Quad City area, mainly in Scott County right now, but we're working into the Illinois side as well. This is a Careers in Computer Science panel session. So we will get started. We have, I believe, 5 or 6, or is it 5 different professionals on the call with us today that are in a different area in computer science. We will be asking you each questions, and each of you will answer. If they don't necessarily relate to you, you don't have to answer the question, but we'll start out with introductions and then work right into questions. Students, if you have questions, just to keep everything going, please put those in the chat. And if you were just joining, please also put in some sort of introduction in the chat. So your name, organization, or school. And if you're one of our professionals with us today, also put your title in there as well. And if you want to switch on your camera, if you're comfortable doing that, please do so. Students, please keep your mics muted and just use the chat feature. Mary?
Okay, and with that, we're going to quick make some introductions, and then we'll get right into the actual meat of the program. And today we have 4 different areas, actually technically 5, that we're going to be talking about today. In information technologies, we have Matt Trimble, who is a systems administrator and network team lead at St. Ambrose. Matt, if you want to wave.
Good afternoon.
Welcome. And then for cybersecurity, we have Dan Turner. He's the Chief Information Officer at Permar.
Afternoon.
And then software engineering, we have Heather Arthur, Senior Software Engineer at John Deere.
Hello.
And then from Fruit Fixer, we have Michael Vanderpool. He's the General Manager, and Hamad Gurwal. He's the founder at Fruit Fixer, iPhone, smartphone, tablet, Mac, PC, and repair, located in both Bettendorf and Davenport. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. He's off camera. He's a little bit camera shy. Stop
All
him,
right.
you definitely see him.
Well, thank you for joining us, all of you. And today we're going to start out with information technologies. And Morgan, if you want to go ahead and take that away. On the screen, I'll have just a little bit of information as a taste to see what you can talk about today and expect to hear. So Morgan, do you want to ask questions, or are we going to go ahead and let them talk?
Why don't we let them do a brief introduction?
Perfect. Matt, you want to go ahead and get started with that?
Sure. My name is Matt Trimble. I'm a senior system administrator and team lead at St. Ambrose University, Davenport, and I've been there for 15 years. Before I got my job at St. Ambrose, I worked as a contractor with a startup firm in about the year 2000. And we worked as staff, IT staff in doctor's offices. It was a really good learning experience. And before that, I was a classroom teacher for a couple of years and took a summer job working in IT and just haven't looked back. And I find there's a ton of needs across any IT spectrum. There's always a need for it. So any skills you can develop are really an asset to your community or your company or your friend group or whatever.
And next we have cybersecurity. So Dan.
My name is Dan Turner. I'm the Chief Information Officer here at Permar Security. I've been here over 22 years, so I'm still learning on the job every day too, as this technology field is always changing. So every day is a new challenge. My staff, I oversee a team of 14 individuals, and so we do the full thing, from security to IT help desk to development, software development, and all that kind of stuff. We have 3,000 employees across our footprint. We have offices in about 40 markets in the Midwest. And at the end of the day, all that security rides back onto our team to keep the bad guys out and make sure our systems stay up and operational.
Terrific. Thank you. Oh, let's go back one. I almost skipped over you, Heather. Sorry about that. Software engineering is next. Heather?
Hi, I'm Heather Ardover. I'm a senior software engineer at John Deere. I've been with John Deere for over 24 years. I actually started as a part-time student the summer after my freshman year, and then just kind of transitioned full-time after college. I've had numerous positions of increasing responsibility and leadership throughout my career, but all within information technology. Early in my career, I was a developer or engineer, was part of numerous teams. I moved into architecture as my career shifted from kind of coding into more design, strategic road mapping. And then most recently, I've moved back into an engineer role as part of our manufacturing and analytics team. I've really missed being hands-on coding and actually being part of a team to deliver some new features, functionalities. So I'm really enjoying this new role.
Terrific. Thank you very much. And then computer repair technicians and electronic repair shop owners, Michael and Hamad, whoever wants to go first.
So my name is Mike Vanderpool. I've been with Fruit Fixer for about 3 years now. I've always had a good general knowledge of computer science growing up. I actually did some schooling, just associate's level. Nothing beyond that really fit what I wanted. What got me into it was PC gaming. My age, back in the 90s, everything was changing from analog to digital. I seen a need in our life, not just mine, but my friends, my grandparents, just basically anybody I knew. There's always at least one or two people that needed some type of assistance. So I kind of knew I kind of wanted to be in the customer service field, fixing electronics. Electronics can be anything from your cell phone, now your watches, tablets, just basically anything with a power button, as my boss says, we can fix. So it gives me the opportunity to talk with numerous people throughout the Quad Cities. I've seen people from all school districts. I've helped 2 or 3 main school districts over in Illinois and the Iowa side, including Pleasant Valley and is Orion and Kelowna. Definitely, hopefully, I can help some more people out over in that range. But I guess this might be a little shoe in the door to kind of give people an idea of what we do. Technology is always going to change, just like some of these other guys have said, and it's not going to stop. As soon as we blink, it's going to be something new next. So it's our jobs to make sure that you're always continuing to learning. Once you stop learning, then that's what they say is you become the dinosaur. So I love it. It's something I'll continue to do probably the rest of my life. I didn't go to school for 10 years, but there is schooling out there for up to 4 to 10 years, just depending on exactly which route you want to go. And did you want to? He's going to be camera shy for the day, so he's just going to be sitting and listening.
Okay, so do I understand, Hamad, are you going to be then speaking at this?
He's not going to be speaking. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He's a
All right.
kind of over listening. I was trying to drag him into it because he was the owner. So.
All right. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about, and he can chime in, what does it take for being a repair shop owner?
So I manage basically all the day-to-day operations. As long as I get him to pay the bills, I'm good to go. No, it's a matter of being able to talk to your customers. Each customer is unique. Each customer situation is going to be different. Each situation is going to have a different problem. It's like also a different result. You can probably fix a cell phone screen 100 times. You're still going to have that one where it's going to have an issue. Being an owner and manager is quite a lot of responsibility. You're going to be putting in a lot of hours, but it also pays out because once you get those repairs done and you're helping those people, you see the smiles on their face. Definitely makes you feel better. Obviously, the checks help as well when you see them cashing. But I I truly had a passion in technology. Obviously, I probably wouldn't work for free, but as long as I could eat, I'm sure I'd probably do this the rest of my life. But like I said, technology field's always changing. There's always going to be something new to look out for. Really, it's really exciting field, to be honest. If you're in any type of technology field, you're always going to have something to do. Whether you like it or not, there's always going to be something. So obviously you want to be at work.
Terrific. And Morgan, do you want to go ahead and get started with questions?
Yes. So I'm going to start out with the questions our students asked when they registered for this, just so we can get to all of those first. So what prerequisites are there and what sort of education is required? And if each of you just want to jump in and talk a little bit about your education.
Yeah. I can start. So for a software engineer at John Deere, the education that's required is a bachelor degree in like a computer science or software engineering type of degree. Prereqs, I would say the biggest thing, you know, the reason why that computer science degree is so important is just the algorithms and the data structures that you learn from a fundamental perspective as you go into coding. Other than that, it's just getting in, practicing, and starting to use those coding skills. And ideally, you're able to use that and use multiple industry standard languages like Python, JavaScript, or Java. Usually our product teams require at least 2 of those languages. We're using, whatever language best fits the need of the functionality that we're trying to deliver.
Yeah, and I'll jump in real quick because I'm actually in a unique situation. My youngest son is a senior at Davenport Assumption right now. So we're out visiting colleges and talking about what his career path is going to look like. And he has a very strong interest in cybersecurity for some reason. Maybe that's what dad does, right? So he's sort of falling down the footprints that I've laid down. So as we're out exploring colleges, I'm also making sure I've been in the IT field for, like I said, over 20 plus years. And I've hired a lot of folks, mentored a lot of folks. And I think the importance of having a good business background is very important. Most of you guys are going to go work for companies that are going to want to make money for a living or at the end of the day. And so understanding how businesses generate revenue, cash flow, make money, I think is very important to being a successful IT person, right? Understanding the missions that the company's striving for. So as we explore schools, there's some of them are starting to develop true cybersecurity curriculums, and you can graduate with maybe that as an emphasis, but a good background in computer science of some sort is definitely there. But I would advocate that having some business classes to go along with that, I think will help put you on a career path that, as your career evolves out of, coming in as a help desk person or somebody at the ground floor and being able to see where your career can take you through an organization, having some business skills would be a good idea.
And at Matt Trimble, I work at St. Ambrose System Administrator. And one of the things that drew me to St. Ambrose was initially my background in education. And I'm a graduate of St. Ambrose. Got an MBA about 8 years ago. So that helped me understand the larger view of, any sort of operation. There's a couple nonprofit classes I took. That's really my interest is supporting like community-based groups and their need for technology. But the interesting thing about the St. Ambrose is it's basically an enterprise operation without, a lot of the things in place you need as an enterprise. Like John Deere has, division upon division of specialists in everything we've talked about already. But St. Ambrose, you develop your skills around the need at the time, or you you find an interest, and there's a different kind of pressure, but most of my focus has been on our virtualization. Over the last 15 years, we've gone from about 300 physical servers down to a 5-view rack of data storage and about 8 blade servers. So there's a lot of changes that I've seen, but as long as you just expect changes and are willing to adapt and learn or relearn and listen to colleagues about what they're struggling with, you can survive and thrive. And the great thing about working at a college, is there's always new people, but then you get to see people move on and succeed. A couple of the people I've mentored or worked with went on to work for Facebook, VMware, and there's a couple Google people, and then John Deere is a pretty frequent recipient of our graduates. So there's a range of things you can develop skills at, and have a career that turns into different things, over time. So it's you don't sit still for very long, unless you want to just punch a clock. So IT is not punching the clock.
I'll chime in. So I don't have a bachelor's degree or master's degree. Schooling really wasn't my thing. I was more of a hands-on guy. Working here at Fruit Fixer and then ultimately managing it has given me an opportunity to be able to get my hands onto numerous different types of devices that typically you wouldn't be able to open. I have 20 years of plus experience doing computing myself. Self-taught at first, and I had done some type of schooling in the associates range, but nothing too serious schooling-wise. So there is options out there, not necessarily to beat yourself up over schooling. Nothing against schooling. I think schooling is good. It does give you a range of better options. Some schooling is just not for some people. I was fortunate enough to follow what I believed I like to do. I was able to meet with Hamad, and then they gave me an opportunity to kind of take over in the cell phone repair shop. I brought my computer experience. We kind of combined. From there, we basically took on the numerous different types of devices, from gaming consoles to tablets to all-in-one computers, touch screens, watches. Basically, anything is digital nowadays, and it's basically going to continue to be like that. So there's always going to be a need for technology, no matter if it's at the entry-level technology or the high end. And you got to have a passion for it, because I never understood it until I got a little bit older. You're always going to hate what you do until you love it, until you love your job. You're always going to hate your job unless you love what you do. I love coming to work every day. Some days I can't wait to get in just so I can get started on something. Obviously, it's not like that every day, because you always wake up, maybe have that one bad day or so, but still you get to work, and I get to do what I love. So.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We move on to the next question. What does your role look like day to day in the workplace?
I'll just continue since I was the last one.
Jump in, guys.
I start my morning off, nice cup of coffee. I don't have to actually get into work until 10 a.m., so I get to enjoy family time in the mornings. My evenings are a little short because I'm retail hours, so keep that in mind if you decide to go retail route. But a typical day of mine is I come in, get to have a nice morning. Customers, usually it's a steady flow of customers till about, say, 2 or 3 o'clock. You're going to be pulled into probably 1,000 different directions, and you might not even get to any resolve of any of those, or you might get to resolve for all of them. Every situation is different. Every day is different here. There's never a boring day.
Yeah, and life and IT at Permar, we operate 24/7. So, our call centers and our data centers are up around the clock, 365. So when anything goes bump in the night, you sort of respond, especially when it comes to cyber security breaches. Your mean time to detection and how quickly you get on top of these issues are imperative. So if your phone rings at 3 o'clock in the morning, you are answering the bat signal and jumping out of bed and hopping on your laptop and taking care of business as whenever that phone rings. So, but the good news is every day is different. So I think Matt alluded to it earlier too. It's an ever evolving line of work. So, every day brings us new challenges, and I don't think any day is ever rinse and repeat. So every day is totally different. So.
Yeah, I can go next. So as a software engineer at Deere, we're actually part of what we call a full stack team. So we're dedicated to a specific product or a group of products where we're delivering functionality features to our users. So for my role, I'm actually part of our manufacturing and analytics team. So the majority of my day is really focused on working with the team. We're now all remote, so it's a little bit more challenging to work, but we use Teams quite a bit. So like today, I started off, I'm working on a specific story to load historical data into our data lake so that we can use it for analytics. And today I started off just resolving an issue that I had with scheduling that job and getting it loaded. Ran into some challenges, so I IM'd or messaged my teammate, and we got on a call and started to pair and work together to figure out what was ultimately causing the issue. So a lot of that time is, pairing with our other team members, ultimately to deliver that functionality. It could be new functionality, new features that we're deploying on an application, or it might be things that we're looking to do to automate our processes so that we can remove some of the mundane work that we do and deliver our features quicker to production. Ultimately, though, as a team, we work closely with our product owners, our product managers. They're the ones that meet with our customers or users to understand how they're going to use our application. And we use that to really understand the user's perspective, their experience, and make sure that whatever we're creating fits within their overall end-to-end experience. So that's what it looks like for a software engineer.
And for system administration and some supervision, not a ton. It's mostly just kind of project management and guidance on work. A system admin is it's any day can bring either a giant catastrophe where something crashed, or you get to spend 8 or 9 hours in a training class that is something you're really geeking out on. So you just have to be ready for anything. And it's at St. Ambrose, we are up 24/7. We've got students that are expecting a system to be available or a website or be able to log in. So there's that, but it's we're always bringing in new systems or developing a different way of doing something. In the for my piece, it's you get in, you check. We've got a couple monitoring systems and alerting systems, so we get a report from overnight on our mail flow and what's happened on our firewall. We've got a system that's monitoring internal traffic and external traffic and filters. So you spend like the first 90 minutes to a big chunk of the morning, depends on what you saw when you first saw your email. A lot of it you can just realize if there's a pattern to the problems you're seeing, and then you dig into the system that's showing the problem. And we're also an open academic environment, so people are our worst enemy. our own people, because they'll get an email that'll be a phishing attack. It'll have a malicious script embedded in a PDF that's, hey, VP of advancement, click on this link to continue the wire transfer that you were talking about with someone. And that's a scenario that's called business email compromise. And it's $1 billion industry worldwide. And every organization's a target, but higher ed is, we're a soft target because we've got people who are super smart that have PhDs that think they're invincible. And in their own industry, they are, and their own knowledge, specialty, they are. But there's some of the smartest people I've worked with have fallen for it and either gave over accounts or account information or stopped and then called IT. And one of the things that I've realized in the time with this current job is our data is the equivalent of oil or gold on the black market. So it's, someone's account is worth a couple bucks. If you're able to buy it and log into a system, you've either got a compromised, repository of resources you can use to do an attack or something like that. So it's there's just a range of things to deal with, and you just got to be flexible and willing to learn and not be afraid to say I don't know what I'm doing or this is over my head, and call somebody who knows more about it, or just get your team around you and say, hey, this is just kicking me in the teeth. What should we do? So it's never the same thing twice, which is good. It's not boring. There's always something to learn.
All right, very good. For the next question, what are programming languages I should learn in order to become an ethical hacker or information security analyst? Dan, I think you're muted.
I was muted, sorry. Heather talked about a couple of them earlier, but Python is a very ubiquitous language that's out there right now, that a lot of the SIM tools, a lot of these tools you buy, especially in the InfoSec market, are as services now. And so as you need to move data in and out of them, having good fundamental skills like Python, that's a very popular one. That's the one our team uses to move our logs and ship our logs to and from the data lakes that do the analysis for us. So I think, and I'll tell you, you don't even have to pay to learn that. There's some really good online resources that will take you from kindergarten level all the way to superstar for free. I mean, so just Google that. That would be one that you can just learn on your own on your downtime. So, and once you start getting your toes wet with that language, a lot of the other ones become very, very simple to pick up. And Heather, you might have some other tips and tricks on some of those tools or languages that they should be learning.
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, we use Python quite a bit. I talked about Java, JavaScript. We just have a lot of different languages that we use, and each one has their own strengths. But if you know Python, if you know Java, and you know a combination of those, you can pretty much pick up any other language. It's just taking some time to get familiar with the syntax. And
I'm sorry.
Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, and if you wanted to sort of expand your skill set outside of the ethical hacker realm, a fundamental understanding of SQL is very, very important as well. So that's not necessarily a language in and of itself, but the businesses run on databases and data lakes, and SQL is as important as any of those tool sets that are out there. So.
Anyone else?
For my system admin, Python is important to at least understand and work with it. Visual Basic scripting is still part of, we've got some older systems that are using that. And one of the, a system management language that's really not going to go away with Windows systems is PowerShell. and that's good to have skills, and you can use it right on your laptop, and do some interesting things with it right away. Perl is also another language, and all of these, there's people who are lots of tutorials that are pretty accessible, and a lot of time that's where I'll jump on. I have a problem I need to fix. I'll spend a few minutes finding someone who's got the explanation and then solve the problem I was looking at an answer for.
And to piggyback off that, Matt, GitHub, if you guys aren't familiar with that, every program in the world uses free library of somebody else. So if you can steal somebody's idea and just take the base idea and then just modify it for your own use, it's free. Get out there and use it.
As for my industry, I never really got into coding. My son, he wants to do coding. I never had no interest in it. Kind of like what Dan said, there's plenty of references out there. If you do need that type of coding, you could essentially copy from it and add to your own. Over time, there's times I've had copied some HTML coding to do some website building, but in my career path, I really didn't need anything with coding. A good idea to learn, though, if you do want to go through my career path, would be to possibly look at app building. There's always going to be another reason why for the next person to build another app. To me, it seems like there's millions of apps out there, and it's not going to stop you. So definitely look into the app building.
Okay, so one of our last ones from students, and students on the call, please put any other questions you have in the chat here, so we can get to them before 3:30. But how much can I expect to earn as an IT, computer repair, or software engineer, or I guess any of the careers that we have on the call today?
So I can maybe start for software engineer. Actually prepped for this question and just Googled it and found that on Glassdoor, it says that software engineer positions range from $70,000 a year to $150,000. And that's in this area. So typically our entry level positions would start at that lower amount.
And I can speak to my staff. Our help desk guys come in about that $50,000 range. If you have experience to go with it, you don't necessarily have to have a degree. I would encourage having a degree of some sort, at least a 2-year degree, that makes opening those doors a heck of a lot easier. And like our help desk guys come in right around that $50,000 range. And then my software developers are towards that upper end that Heather was talking about $150,000 if you're my full stack developers. So.
And then my staff, including myself, starting out to experience, you're going to be expected anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 throughout the United States. And that can change drastically depending on the market. So say if you're a repair technician in, say, a place where people are vacationing, so you expect to see more of that. In this area, you're probably going to be seeing anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000.
And working in education and higher education, private higher education, there's a big difference in range. If you work for the public schools, you'll make anywhere from very similar to the retail repair shop, as a help desk, like 25,000 up to 35 as a entry level tier 1, but you get benefits. You could join the different groups for retirement funds, and then with St. Ambrose, there's typically a pay increase. And since it's private, people don't talk about what they make, because it might be dramatically different from person to person. But it's on the low end of anything you can imagine for the skills you need. The pay isn't great, but you could. I think the range would be from for someone who would be a more advanced tier 2 type of support person, from 40,000 up to 70,000, and that's a year. And they'll give you benefits too, so you get a pretty discounted health insurance package. Your paid time off is pretty considerable. No expectation to show up, at the office for the entire Christmas break, that week, and then 15 days a year of paid leave, and they're pretty good to families. Like my daughters have been able to get a free college education, and I've got a master's degree that I just paid fees for. So there's definite intangible, non-financial benefits you get. Sorry about that. So it's really what you're after, and but you can certainly develop skills and move on if money is more of a driver.
Now, one of the things that I always ask, what do you mean by entry level? Because I've had students that think they get on the job, they've been working for a couple of months, maybe 6 months, and they think that they're skilled and deserve that first big raise. What would your idea of entry level be?
Yeah, so I think I brought up the entry level, so I'll try to take a stab at that. So entry level is really that first, I would say, foot in the door, right? So you may not have any prior work experience or limited work experience. So maybe you were just doing part-time work during school, or you had some internships that you might have done in the summer. So that entry level is that first full-time position that you have. Now, entry level, you might stay in that entry level for quite a few years, 2 to 3 years, and you may or may not increase from that entry level position, right, to that next level, unless you're really demonstrating, key competencies, key technical skills, and you're really looking to increase your responsibilities and kind of take on more and learn more and do more, right? So it goes beyond just years of experience, but also how you're demonstrating, how you're performing on the job.
And just to add to that, how you can communicate. So I can't stress the importance of having good communication skills, not only with your peers, but with your superiors. And if you do get in some sort of role where you are supervising, with your direct reports. So make sure being able to communicate is highly critical to be successful in the business world, or any world. Education too, I'd assume, right, Matt? Got to be able to communicate.
Yeah, and be able to have difficult conversations with users whose data is gone, or or students. Not everyone's at the same level, and you meet them where they are and figure out how to help them and solve their problems. So it's you don't need a degree, and sometimes it's you can learn on the job, and that's one thing about IT is much of what I do on a daily basis I taught myself, and have been lucky and gotten breaks, but it's just you can keep working, and you just know that the people around you are there to help you, and no one makes it through this alone.
And I'll throw out there, from a career pathing standpoint, don't be afraid of the staffing agencies. A lot of folks, I know John Deere's likes to use contracted services first, bring you in as a contractor before you become a true W-2 employee. I know other IT organizations in the Quad City or Eastern Iowa or Western Illinois area do the same thing. They got to see how you're going to fit culturally. It's a complex environment. Do you have the skills? Because again, it's easy to go out and acquire some of these skills and put it on a resume and really look solid, but until you're actually in the trenches and demonstrating your skill sets to your supervisor, before they'll bring you on full time. So as you career path out, develop some of your skill sets. Don't knock these staffing agencies that are around. It's a good path to get your foot in the door and put some real meat onto your resume.
And then, Mike, did you have anything to add for that entry level?
So entry level here, I've seen some of our best technicians get hired where their first job was over at Hy-Vee. What that taught them was customer service skills. like everyone else said in the past, you're always going to have to figure a way to let that customer know, or parent, friend, boss, let them know what's going on with their device. Like in my field, could be data, could be a phone, could be a computer, could be their phone not hooking up to their car. Customer service skills is probably the most important thing on top of me knowing computer work for my job. Without being able to talk to somebody, I wouldn't be able to.
Okay. So we did get a couple of questions in our chat here. So the first one is there any opportunities for job shadowing or internships in computer science? So if you want to talk about within your organization, we can also add apprenticeships to that, since I know we have Heather on the call here. So,
and I want to make sure that we add too that we're looking at high school internships.
Yeah, so I know Permar is actually partnered with the Davenport schools that we actually are bringing in. Not necessarily in the computer field yet, where we've been having some dialogue around that, but we actually are bringing in folks to work with our technicians out in the field. So installing alarm panels and getting that base electronics. I think, don't quote me, I think there's 4 or 5 of them banging around our company right now that are high schoolers doing the apprentice program with the intent of actually having a job upon graduation. So that's our goal with those guys. And then we're having, and just a dovetail, I try and hire within, we have an employee base of over 3,000 employees. Everybody's in a different stage of life. And it's much easier to hire somebody internally that knows our culture, knows our mission, knows what we're trying to accomplish. And they understand who I am right off the get-go. So there's no learning curve from that standpoint. So we typically try and hire within and train within when feasible. We start talking about software engineers and some of the specialized skill sets that happen in IT. Sometimes tough to find it internally, but and then you have to go to the marketplace. But that's sort of how we do things.
Yeah, so at Deere, lots of opportunities to job shadow when you're in high school. I think you can just work with your counselor. They can connect to whatever context they have. And our employees are very willing to sit with you and allow you to sit with them and shadow them. So definitely do that. In addition to that, this year we had our first software engineer apprenticeship program. So we had 5 of the Davenport schools, 5 students that were selected into that apprenticeship program. That went really well. Looking to expand that next year. So what that looks like is we actually offer on-the-job learning opportunities the summer after your junior year, all the way through the summer after you graduate, until you complete a certain amount of classes and complete some technical competencies that then you would get this apprenticeship certification. In addition to that, then we also have quite a few part-time student opportunities within the QC area, as well as within Des Moines and Ames. A couple of our apprentices this year actually graduated and then moved on to Iowa State. So they are finishing up their apprenticeship program there in our Ames location, where we work quite a bit with some part-time students there. And then what else? We also offer summer internships. This is not high school at this time, but college internships. So starting your freshman year, all the way till you graduate, definitely some opportunities there. It's a 12-week program that we do in the summer. And that's just another opportunity to get in, learn to apply and demonstrate those skills with real world problems, and then also give you an opportunity to work in an agile team.
Here, we really don't have any opportunities for job shadowing, anything like that. I have taken on in the past a few high schooler technicians where they're really great, but their extracurricular activity had gotten in the way with our retail hours, so they ultimately ended up quitting us. But if you are ever interested in wanting to stop in and either one of our locations over in Bettendorf or Davenport. I would definitely love to show you guys around, show you what we do on a day-to-day basis. But there's no really job shadowing or opportunities at this time. Possibly in the future, though.
St. Ambrose hasn't had, I think, as far as I know, we haven't had any sort of real mentorship or internships with the local high schools. And usually it's because we've already got students on campus. But I think like there's usually a summer opportunity where we don't have student workers, where if there is an area, an area student who lives here wants to answer the phone for a couple hours a week, and be around what we're doing. Summers usually are pretty crazy because we're rolling out new systems, and just scratching our head for most of the summer until we figure out the project details, that we bought new equipment for. So there'd be some good exposure, but we don't have anything formal yet. But I think it'd be something we'd be open to.
Okay, so we do have a few more questions to get through. What is your best tip in learning your first programming language?
I'll maybe take a stab at it first and then others can add on. Like Dan mentioned earlier, I think if you go out on Google and just search, how do I learn Python or how do I learn JavaScript, I'd start there. There's a lot of resources out there that you can start with and just really get started with that particular language. And they're free. I mean, there are some like Udemy and Pluralsight. There's other platforms that you could potentially dive into that I think cost a little bit more. That's creates more structure in kind of guiding you through how to start learning that language. But ultimately, I think I would start there. I'd leverage your high school. I know all of your high schools have the computer science curriculum. I definitely strongly encourage that and encourage you to consider maybe taking that first course just to kind of help you out there. But at the end of the day, it's just trial and error. It's getting in, it's creating a problem you want to solve, a makeup problem, whatever, and just getting in and doing it. We do have we use assessments within our process at Deere, and we use what is called HackerRank. It's a platform, and that platform does provide a way to, it gives you different challenges that you can try to solve with different languages. So once you know the language, that might be a way for you to go in and just try it out, demonstrate. It gives you those challenges that you might want to try to solve, and just see if what you've learned, you can actually apply that. So that would be my recommendation.
Wonderful. Anyone have anything to add? Okay. What are some good habits for your jobs? I know you probably touched on this a little bit.
Be on time. Be on time for your first interview. Be on time for classes, right? I mean, being punctual, especially as I'm a parent of teenagers, and it drives me nuts when they're not on time, because being punctual is a sign of respect and shows your willingness to want to be part of the team, and stuff like that. So, and take Zoom meetings as seriously as do in-person meetings. So that's the other thing I tell you, especially in this whole work from home world that we live in. So, and I touched on it earlier, I won't keep beating a dead horse here, but learn to communicate, right? So, talk. Nobody's a mind reader, so being able to have good communication skills is I don't know if that's a habit necessarily, but it's a skill that you should really, really sharpen up on.
Yeah, I second that. I think being an active participant in whatever you're involved in, right? Whatever meetings you're involved in, be vocal. I think another habit is, in my mind, not to be complacent within information technology. Like I think it was Mike said earlier, technology is constantly changing, right? So if you're complacent, you're behind. So always be ready to look for new things to try, new ways to improve, and just look at how do you be great in the job that you're in. And then I think some of the other things that I think have been helpful in my career is just being willing to be helpful. So some of issues may not necessarily be within your direct area of responsibility, but ultimately to solve that problem that that the user sees or that the customer sees, it's helpful to kind of make sure that you're able to work with others to make sure it gets resolved, right? And then I think the last thing is just being willing to continuously learn and develop. Take that time to develop your capabilities, and whether that's maybe not on an individual basis, because I think you learn a lot more when you can actually pair with a team member and kind of learn together. But just make sure that you're taking that time to continuously learn and grow.
Just to add on what they all said, I have an idea of what the company does. That's a good start, especially on an interview. Just a general knowledge idea of what it is, communication with the person, even if you have to call there or just do a Google search of the company, and then always be presentable. Especially in the IT, most of the time, there's going to be a lot of work where you're going to be just yourself, but there's going to be other times where you're going to be talking to other people to try to figure out what's actually going on. So you're going to have to distinguish from what they're telling you and from your experience. Obviously, this is if you get started in the field, but you got to be able to have communication and then always look into what you're going to be doing. So if you're not too sure, you're starting to take a task. There's plenty of information on there. Everyone has a cell phone in their hand or a laptop on their desk. Use Google, ask it a question, it'll give you an answer.
Okay. So I think we have time for maybe one more question, Mary. That'd be good. Okay. So the last question is, I'm just trying to figure out what IT type I might want to learn more about or take a career path in. I don't know what the question is in there, but
I think, Morgan, can we expand that a little bit, if you don't mind, Aiden? Not just in IT, in computer science in general, I think. How do you decide what avenue you want to go into? All of you are in a little bit different. We're in education, manufacturing, security, retail. All of those are very different industries. And then in amongst that, there's different career areas. So how do you decide what's right for you?
So I would say I don't know that I've completely decided. I mean, I think the wonderful thing about a career with computer science is it gives you a lot of fundamental skills that can take you wherever you want to go within your career. I mean, I started as a developer. That was the path that got me in the door. But like I mentioned, I moved into an architect role, which was less coding, more designing. We have opportunities to move into infrastructure or cloud, right? So there's so many different opportunities. I guess in my mind, you don't have to decide right now what it is you specifically want to do. I think leverage this opportunity to kind of get the fundamentals and the basics from that degree. And then as long as you're continually investing in yourself, developing and being open to change and learning new things, I think your career is endless.
Yeah. And I would agree with that, Heather. I mean, I know a multitude of people in this world of IT and computer science, if you will, if you expand that umbrella, and you can do anything that wherever your passions end up going. I mean, it could be sales, right? I mean, people have passion for sales. You go get a computer science and degree, and there's a lot of money to be made in sales. So, I mean, you get on the sales side of things, so you like to go out and travel and meet people. And, you know, all the big, you know, companies out of Silicon Valley have professional sales teams, and all of them always have a pre-sales engineer as part of that conversation. And those guys are the technical folks that know the bits and bytes, that know the product sets. And that usually starts with a degree in engineering or in computer science of some sort. And that's the fundamental building block there. And those guys have a heck of a job doing lots of fun, different things, but it's wherever your passion ends up taking you, you know? So it's.
I think for St. Ambrose, it's the job's always changing, and what I started doing is no longer the same. And you know, there's people that I'm working with that, you know, are considerably younger than I am, but they're learning alongside me. So I think it's and that's allowed me to do different things or explore, you know, different skill set, and learn from people that are, you know, of a different generation and thinking about things differently.
I would say, sorry, somebody's asking me a question. Don't stop. I mean, try to find all avenues. Don't just go with one IT. I know at an early age when I was going through schooling, I knew nothing against you, Matt. I did not want to touch cybersecurity or Dan. It's something I knew that I didn't want to stay on top of, because I don't like the feeling of getting beat, I guess. That's why I kind of stopped doing PC gaming and I just started fixing it. I didn't like getting my butt kicked by a 15-year-old. Same thing essentially with the security stuff. It's always going to change. So same thing with what I want to do. I knew I wanted to be something with computers, whether it was a computer, a game console, a watch, or possibly even a car. Everything's a computer now. So I would recommend don't sell yourself short. You're young. I mean, put in 6 months to a year at one job and then job shadow another job and then see what you would like. Don't get stuck in a position in life where you feel that you're committed this far into this field that you can't stop and change it. So explore all your options before sticking with one.
All right.
And I think that's a great note to end on, don't you, Morgan?
Yeah, I agree.
We want to thank all of our presenters here today. One thing that they all said at the end there, explore your options. This is just one of those ways to explore. There are more ways. Heather mentioned the job shadowing. A couple of you mentioned interning. You can go visit the classes at St. Ambrose that they have. Talk to the instructors that are there, the admissions representatives on there. Talk to your counselors. Talk to somebody like Morgan or myself. We have Kathy Rugberg from Rock Island Schools on there. She can help you, put you in touch with counselors over there on that Illinois side. We have people from Central DeWitt. So there's lots of options in all of the locations that you're all at. And we want to make sure that the first thing that you're doing is starting to look at what your options.
Okay, well, I think that concludes our panel session. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. This is just something we're doing monthly with a different career cluster put on by the Quad City Work-Based Learning Group. So if you see any of our other virtual or in-person events, check them out. I think this went pretty well. So hopefully we'll keep doing this into next year as well.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, presenters. We sure appreciate that.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Morgan, I was trying to share at the end there the work-based learning context, and it would not pull it up at all.
There was a weird pause, and I was just like, okay, thanks, everybody. This is the Quad City Work-Based Learning Group. Yeah.
So I'll add that. I'll just type
Right.
that part in.
Okay.
Do we want to take just a second here, and I'm going to let you finish that out, and we'll try that part again. So if you want to say, what's that?
Finish what out?
If you want to go back and we'll say something about the ending, and here's the Quad City Work-Based Learning Group. Let me see if I can now.
You mean in the video?
Yeah, I'll add that to the video. But let me see if I can first share it.
You want me to talk about it? Is that what?
I want you to talk, and I'll pull up the screen so you know what you're talking about, so that you do know what you're talking about here.
Which one? Which slide is it supposed to
It's the very last one.
be? Okay, it just has our contacts. Okay.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about if you have any further questions, would like to set up a job shadow, know more about internships and apprenticeships, here are the contact people.
Okay.
And I didn't have Susan on there. She was on the front screen on there. So we'll go back or take a look, if you want to say, or go back to the front for Susan, because, well, we have Kathy on there and we didn't have any other Illinois people. How do I share this now? Why won't it share?
You also
What's
said,
that?
You also said reach out to our your counselor.
Yeah, so if you want to say that at the end, or you want me to say that, I can. I'm just trying to right now, while we're talking, trying to get this darn thing to share.
Here, I might be able to share it. You want me to do that? I have
Yeah,
it.
try and see. Good. Try and see if you can share.
And I'll just let you do it. Are you going to cut this part out then?
I'm going to cut out all of this part here.
Okay. And maybe a little the beginning where we
Yeah, exactly. So all that part that we don't have. Oh, there we go. You're sharing. And then if you want to hit present. There we go. So let's start from there and we'll finish it up. So I'm going to just say, and now Morgan will talk about how else you can find ways, okay? So here we go. And Morgan now is going to talk about the different ways that you can find out more information. Morgan?
Yeah, so each of you are at some school should have a work-based learning coordinator, a career counselor, or a counselor of some sort who is in charge of work-based learning at your school. I am Morgan Coleman. I am with Davenport Schools. So I oversee our CTE, work-based learning programs. We mentioned the apprenticeship programs at John Deere and Permar in this panel session, which is something you can reach out to me to work through, and my contact information is here. We also have Haley Hoyt from Bettendorf, who is a part of our Quad City Work-Based Learning group as well, and her contact information is here. Jim Schneider is from North Scott, and his information is here. Erica Ewert, she is a EICC intermediary, so she works with schools who don't necessarily have work-based learning coordinators at their school, and her contact information here and her website has a lot of great resources and information about virtual events like this that are in the Quad City area. And then Mary, do you want to talk about yourself?
I'll do that. And then I'll wrap it up. How's that?
Sure.
So I'm Mary Johnson. I'm the career coordinator here at Pleasant Valley High School. What that really means is that I'm going to connect you with what comes next after high school regarding your career plan. So that could be post-secondary options, job shadows, internships, apprenticeships, and the rest of the gamut on there. So if you have it, my contact information is on the screen. I also wanted to let you know just a little bit more about our Quad City Work-Based Learning, and for those of you that are on the Illinois side, how you can reach out and contact. So there's a couple of different ways, and I'll add this to the video so you have Illinois contacts. With Susan Zelnio right now, we were hoping to have a Illinois intermediary, but Susan Zelnio from the Moline Foundation is a good resource. Your counselors, Kathy Ruggeberg, who was on this video session watching this as a participant. Thank you for doing that, Kathy. We'll also be able to help you with that. And so your counselor on the Illinois side, if you're in, again, rural Scott County, Erica, you would be the person. Jackson County, Louisa Muscatine, Erica is the person to go to for that. But our Quad City Work-Based Learning Group meets on a regular basis, and we provide and promote different opportunities for our students, and we try and collaborate with our business. So if you're a business member that is watching this video, please reach out to us. We'd love to contact and communicate with you about opportunities that we can work with your business. With that, thank you so much and have a great night.